Here we are, welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, aka the Doc in the Arena, the guy that will give you the medical take on sporting topics. Today we're talking essentially a medical marvel, and that medical marvel is named Kevin Durant, aka the Slim Reaper, aka Burner Boy. Absolute dominating presence on the court, and as you will see, someone who has defied all odds to be at the level he is at. Now, I've been enjoying the NBA playoffs so far, and I've realised that we are approaching the 2-year anniversary from when KD blew out his Achilles. That was June 10th, 2019. So we're nearly there as of recording of this video. When that happened, heart sank. And the reason why heart sank is because we know that the Achilles tear is up there with the worst injuries that a basketball player can have. There was a lot of speculation that KD would never come back to his level, and we'd seen the last of the top level KD. Fight! How wrong we were. He's been incredible, arguably better than I've ever seen him. What I want to do in this video today is really illustrate and explain to you what he should have been, according to the science, what he should have been when he came back from his injury compared to what he's doing, just to illustrate how much of a medical marvel, mystery, what you want to call it, he is. Then we'll discuss potential reasons as to why this was the case. If you like this type of content, click the like button, just give a little, then move over. You might as well, while you're there, click that subscribe button and the bell. That way you're part of the community. Get involved. We love having you here. Let's go. So there's a particular study I looked at and I found really interesting. And what it did, it looked at NBA players who had had Achilles tears in the past, I believe, 20 years, and looked at their performance statistically before the injury and after the injury. The main thing it looked at was PER, so that's player efficiency rating. For those of you that don't know, that's basically a catch-all stat that looks at how efficient a basketball player is, and the average for an NBA player is 15. If your PER is 20, you're probably at an all-star level, so very, very good. If your PER is 25 and above, you are one of the best players in the world, you're at MVP level. And if it's at 30 and above, you're touching on legendary territory. Okay, so that's the context we're talking, right? Now, what the study found was this, really simple. It found that initially, when players came back from an Achilles injury, they came back to 60% what they were before the injury. It found that, number two, even 2 years after the injury, on average, players could only get back to 80% of what they were before. So they've lost 1/5 of their quality owing to this injury. Thirdly, what I found interesting was that 15% of athletes didn't even come back from the Achilles injury, were unable to rehab successfully enough to come back on the court. So KD's done well to get back on the court, let alone the numbers. So let's look at those numbers, because remember what we said? We said 60% and 80%, right? So when we last saw KD back in 2019, he was dominating the playoffs, right? His PR was 26.8, so well into MVP level. He goes down and gets injured. That means when he comes back, his PR really should have been just above average, 16.8, which by my count would have put him ranked 124th in the NBA. He would have come back at the same level as Bruce Bowen, who is his teammate and role player on the Brooklyn Nets. And that's the level we should have expected him at initially. Even if he was to then peak and come back to 80% of his levels, which is what we see in the research, his PR would have been decent. So let's give KD the benefit of the doubt and say, listen, this guy's a legendary, transcendental talent. He will have a better outcome than other athletes. So let's say he gets back to that fabled 80% of what he was, which is what the research suggests basketball players maximum can get back to. That would have given him a PER of 21.4. Now that's above average. That's decent. That's all-star level. That would have been 30th in the NBA. That would have been the level of Zach LaVine, who's a decent player. That's what we'd expected. And I think if someone said 2 years ago, KD's going to come back and he's going to be an all-star, we'd be saying, you know what, he's done really well. Okay, now let's look at what he's actually done. KD, in these playoffs so far, as of recording, he is averaging 32 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. His PER is 31.2, which puts him above MVP level, essentially legendary status level. And he's doing that while absolutely annihilating all competition in front of him. This don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. You need to understand how impossibly good he's doing at this moment in time. It's truly incredible. So therefore, the question you might be thinking is why? How has he managed to do this? And why is he spitting in the face of such esteemed scientific research? A few reasons. Number one, I don't think anyone as good as him had an Achilles injury. If you look at actually the research, if you look at the average PER of the players that got injured, it was only 16.6. So these are the average players getting injured. So their ability to come back, the skill set might not be there. Whereas KD, he by far had the highest career PER of anyone that has been injured with this Achilles tear. The second thing I can think of is because of the pandemic, he had a lot longer to rehabilitate. Normally, the average comeback time is about 300 days, so about 10 months. Instead, he was out for 552 days. That gave him that extra bit of time to get right, to get get his lungs up, get himself fit, basically. And I think the benefits of that have been really, really shown. And a third reason is his skill set. He can do everything, so he can just adapt. He doesn't have to be explosive necessarily. He's 6'10", he's got a 7-foot wingspan. He's got probably the highest shoot release point of anyone in the NBA at the moment. And he's just that damn good. So those are the reasons I can see. You've seen players with Achilles injuries try to come back and it's not gone great. Look at Boogie Cousins, look at John Wall. But KD's bucked the trend, and bucked the trend in emphatic fashion. The only other thing I'll be interested to see is whether he will suffer from, these little niggling injuries going forward. A lot of people with, big ACL injuries, big Achilles injuries, often end up just having little persistent injuries going forward. So I'll be interested to see how that affects him. Other than that, full on respect for him. We'll see how he gets on in the finals. James Harden's just gone down. So we'll see if he really is that legendary status, can get past the Bucks, get past Philly, and win this damn thing himself. Hope you enjoyed. Remember, hit like if you liked it. And I will see you very soon on the next video.